Alright, so today on AR Build Junkie, we're going to talk about bolt carrier groups for your AR-15. Choosing a bolt carrier group for your build can get a bit confusing. There's a lot of different options and variations of materials and coatings available, and we're going to try today to make it a little bit easier for you by breaking down the top types of bolt carrier groups and kind of give you an idea of what to look for. So let's start by giving you a breakdown of the major components that make up the bolt carrier group. The carrier that you see here is the external housing for the bolt, and it's attached to the gas key up top. It's important to clean and check everything regularly to ensure that the screws attaching the gas key don't come loose. The gas key on top of your bolt carrier group, sometimes also called the bolt carrier key, is an essential part that funnels the gas from your gas tube into the bolt carrier, and it should be tightly staked so that it creates a proper seal. Staking your screws here will keep them from backing out. Next, you have your firing pin and firing pin retaining pin. Firing pin, retaining pin, and then your firing pin. The next major component you have is your cam pin up here, which holds your bolt in place. The bolt helps guide the round into the chamber, extracts the spent case, and then ejects the spent cartridge once you fired the gun. This is typically going to be made out of 9310 or Carpenter 158 steel. A lot of people like the Carpenter 158 because it's the true mil spec. So keep in mind the 158 alloy is proprietary, so it's going to be more expensive due to the patents on that. A lot of people will see that a 158 bolt is a bit more expensive and equate price with toughness of the steel. And actually the 93010 steel, when heat treated properly, is actually just a bit stronger than the 158. To give you a frame of reference, it's actually the alloy that's used in a lot of gears in Formula 1 cars, so it is a very robust alloy. Now as far as the parts of the bolt, you have your bolt body. This is the solid piece that all the other components of the bolt are attached to. You've got your bolt face, the lugs, your ejector, and your extractor. Now there's a couple things you want to note about the different parts of your bolt here. First off, the lugs, those are going to be fairly similar from manufacturer to manufacturer, but there are some proprietary designs out there. Different manufacturers will shape these differently, and they claim sometimes increased lifespan or that the part will hold up better under stress, but for the most part you'll see that these are fairly uniform from manufacturer to manufacturer. Now, traveling rearward on your bolt here, you'll notice you have these gas rings, and the purpose of these are to create a tight seal, so that when the gases are pushing on the bolt, everything functions properly. Now, one thing you want to make sure of is when you're setting up your bolt here, you want to make sure that these little notches here on the rings are not lined up. If those are lined up, it's not going to form a proper seal and your rifle won't function properly. And the next thing we want to go over with bolt carrier groups is different types. One of the first distinctions you want to make is full auto or M16 bolt carrier group versus a typical AR bolt carrier group. Now in a typical AR-15 or mil-spec bolt carrier group, you're going to notice that there's a very short section on the underside in the rear area of the bolt carrier, versus what you've got with a full auto or M16 bolt carrier group with a much more generous rear end on the bottom. Now you'll find that there's going to be a big variety of quality M16 full auto bolt carrier groups on the market. Full auto bolt carrier groups have grown in immense popularity over the years and could probably be considered the standard carrier these days. Now while this is a full auto part, it is important to remember that it's perfectly legal to own one and use it in your build. The AR-15 semi-auto bolt carrier groups are also out there, but since they have less material on the back, they're going to be a little bit lighter than the full auto version. So if you're wanting to get rid of a little extra weight, going with the standard AR-15 bolt carrier group may be the way to go. Now when we're going over types, the next thing you want to discuss is going to be caliber considerations. Your typical AR-15 bolt carrier group is going to be used for a lot of different calibers, including 5.56 223. You're also going to use this on 300 Blackout and a host of other calibers. Now you can compare one of these AR-15 style bolt carrier groups to one that's from the AR-10 LR308 family. And you're going to see right off the bat that the 308 is going to be a much larger carrier. You'll also notice that the size of the bolts are going to vary. Now along with these carrier types, you're going to also notice some that are made for specialty rounds. You'll see some that are specifically marketed towards a 6.5 Creedmoor or 6.8 SPC, and those are going to have slight variations on one of these two models. But as far as the bolt carrier groups in the AR platform that are specifically made for rifle calibers, you're typically going to have one of these two styles, either an AR-15 or an AR-10 LR308 style. Now, one final type I wanted to look at today is going to be one that's grown in popularity over the years, and that's going to be the pistol caliber carbine bolt carrier group. Now, this one here that we have is one from Faxon Firearms, and it's been nitride coated. And you'll notice a few main differences between this and a typical AR-15 bolt carrier group. First, this bolt carrier group only has two main parts. You've got the carrier, and then you've got the gas key on top. And now if you compare this to the AR-15 bolt carrier group, you'll notice one thing that's missing on this one, specifically in the gas key area, is this front extension. That's because in a pistol caliber carbine setup, there's going to be no gas tube that runs along the barrel and into the upper receiver, because this operates on straight blowback, rather than a direct impingement setup. One thing that gets simpler about an AR-9 or other AR pistol caliber carbine build is that you're going to be completely omitting the gas block, gas tube, and you'll also notice that the barrels do not have a gas port drilled into them. Now, another thing that you'll notice is different is that the blowback style bolt carrier group is much heavier than your typical AR-15 bolt carrier group. The reason for that is that the energy that's exerted on the 9mm bolt carrier group needs to be dampened so that you reduce wear and recoil. Think of it sort of like hydraulic shock absorption. Now, you're also going to notice different materials being used in your bolt carrier groups. Steel is the most common material used for bolt carrier groups because it's durable, heat resistant, and withstands wear and tear very well. And as an added bonus, it's not very expensive. Different types of steel can be used for your bolt carrier group. For example, you can get billet carriers machined from 8620 steel, gas keys made from 4130 steel, and firing pins manufactured from 8740 steel in all-in-one bolt carrier group. Now, one of the reasons that all the components come in different types of steel is that one particular grade of steel may not be the best for any one other component. For example, carriers are often made from 8620 steel, but this grade of steel is far too weak to be used in your bolt. Steel bolt carrier groups are perfectly suitable for most AR-15 enthusiasts, and it's also the most commonly used for military and law enforcement. Now, you will find some bolt carrier groups out on the market that are made from aluminum. Some of the benefits of this are mainly going to be that it's a much lighter material, so it's often used for low-mass bolt carrier groups. It is fairly strong, but not nearly as strong as steel, so it will not last as long. Aluminum bolt carrier groups tend to be very popular for shooting competitions and work well with guns that have adjustable gas systems. Another common material that you'll see is going to be titanium bolt carrier groups. These are lighter than steel, but much stronger. And titanium has incredible heat and pressure resistance, but it's considerably more expensive than steel, so that is a specialty material that you'll find in these. Now, one of the biggest areas of variation among different bolt carrier groups is going to be their coatings and finishes. Probably the most common and well-known is going to be what the typical mil-spec is, which is parkerized, aka a manganese phosphate. This type of coating is fairly durable and highly resistant to corrosion, and it tends to be the most economical of bolt finishes. Now, one good thing about the explosion of the AR platform in the market is just how much prices have come down on all the specialty finishes. Probably the most commonly known specialty finish is going to be nickel boron coated, which you'll see on this 308 bolt carrier. Nickel boron has the advantage of being extremely corrosion resistant and nearly friction free. Another common coating is going to be black nitride. Black nitride is also referred to as a salt bath nitride or QPQ coating. Now, one thing to note is that black nitride is not technically a coating per se, but rather it's a treatment that hardens the steel. It also makes it more resistant to corrosion. Other pluses of this finish are that it increases the longevity of the part and reduces friction. Now, on the table today, we do have one other nitrided bolt carrier group, and that's this low mass example from Faxon. Apart from making it out of aluminum, another option to get a lighter weight one is to cut out some of the areas in your bolt carrier group. And this Faxon bolt carrier group is a great example of what can be done to lighten up the bolt carrier and really shave some weight off for a lighter AR build. Now, another popular coating that we don't have pictured here is going to be NP3. NP3 is a branded finish from Robar, which is essentially an electroless nickel-based finish for steel, stainless steel, and aluminum alloys. One neat thing about this particular finish is that it works by depositing PTFE, or polytetrafluoroethylene, aka Teflon particles, along with the electroless nickel. The main benefits of that particular coating are extremely high lubricity and an extremely low friction coefficient. Now, like some of the other coatings, that's going to translate to smoother function and also less need for cleaning and an easier cleanup, as well as less wear on the coated parts. The last coating that I want to talk about today is DLC, or diamond-like carbon. This type of coating is what's known as a nanocomposite, which is a composite with a grain structure measured in nanometers. And this type of coating has unique properties of natural diamond, which include low friction, high hardness, and high corrosion resistance. DLC is applied through a process called physical vapor deposition. And this particular coating is believed by many to be among the strongest coatings for metal, and certainly one of the strongest coatings you can get for the AR bolt carrier group. Alright, now another thing we want to talk about is making sure that your bolt carrier group is properly tested. The two most common testing methods related to the parts of your bolt carrier group are going to be magnetic particle inspection and high pressure testing. Magnetic particle inspection is performed only on the bolt, and it uses magnetism to detect flaws in the surface, or slightly below the surface of your bolt. Here's basically how it works. The bolt carrier group is magnetized, and iron particles are placed on its surface. If there are any cracks, divots, or scratches, the particles will be drawn to them. This test has no known adverse effects on the bolt and guarantees a flawless product. Now, commonly whenever your bolt's been magnetic particle inspected, you'll see a little engraving or stamping on the top of your bolt here that'll say MP or MPI for magnetic particle inspection. Now, not all bolts that have gone through that process will be necessarily labeled, but you can also check with the manufacturer and they should give you information about that. High pressure testing does exactly what its name suggests, and is the other type of common testing. Basically, it submits the bolt carrier group to a very high pressure to see if it can resist the pressure of a live round. There are some that believe that this type of testing is unnecessary and that it may shorten a bolt carrier group's lifespan, but it is a great way to test the durability of the carrier group. Now there's one final thing I wanted to go over today, and that's Toolcraft. Toolcraft is an OEM for the US military and many other large rifle manufacturers. They also produce some of the most popular and well-built AR-10 bolt carrier groups on the market. Now when you're buying a Toolcraft bolt carrier group, what you're getting is a carrier that's made in-house by Toolcraft, and then a bolt sourced by a reputable third party. They offer a variety of bolt carrier groups coated in everything from nickel boron to DLC, titanium nitride, black nitride, even hard chrome and old school parkerized finishes. They also produce bolt carrier groups in a variety of sizes including 223, 556, 308, 762, 458 SOCOM, 6.8 SPC, and a bunch of other options. With a Toolcraft bolt carrier group, you're buying directly from the maker. Now they do produce a lot of their aftermarket stuff for other brands, and they may even have specialty designs with the carrier and things of that nature, or even something as simple as that company's logo machined into the side of the carrier. One of the good things about buying direct from Toolcraft and buying one that's not marked with any logo is you're going to save a significant amount of money on this. So that has been our look at the AR bolt carrier group. I hope you enjoyed the video today and this gave you a lot of good info to go off of. If you have any other questions, definitely let us know down in the comments on the blog. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today on AR Build Junkies Look at the AR Bolt Carrier Group.